Hey guys, SuperHorrorBro Mike here, and in today's video we examine perhaps the creepiest element of the Little Nightmares 2 game world, its monsters. This video will take a look at every enemy encounter, boss fight, and moreover, a little analysis of what their backstory may be within this twisted world. So sit back, relax, and let's venture into our nightmares once more as we take a closer look at each and every one of these horrifying creatures. The Hunter is the first enemy we encounter during our adventure with Mono and Six. He is stocky and plodding, but still manages to tower over our pint-sized heroes. The Hunter is dressed in typical hunting attire, with a thick overcoat, boots for traversing muddy terrain, and a signature hunting cap. However, his face is obscured by a sack with a single hole in it. Presumably this hole was made so the Hunter could see, but we must ask the question, why wear a sack at all? The most likely explanation is to hide his deformed and distorted face. The signal tower at the centre of this cruel and hostile world broadcasts a transmission which misshapes and degrades the bodies of those living throughout the world. As we saw in the original Little Nightmares, many of the monsters inhabiting this world wear masks to hide their crippled appearance. It seems the Hunter could not afford one of these masks, but still wishes to cover up his face, and so resorted to an old potato sack. It seems obvious the Hunter hates his appearance as we see evidence of broken mirrors throughout his home. The Hunter lays traps for anyone unfortunate enough to venture into the swampy woodland he inhabits. These range from bear traps, to snare nets, to logs which crush anything in their path. Every inch of this forest is a death trap to navigate. Once we enter the Hunter's abode and begin exploring, things move in an even creepier direction. This home feels like a serial killer's paradise. Meat rots on countertops and bubbles away in pots. Venturing deeper inside this house reveals the Hunter's true passion, taxidermy. However, he doesn't just conduct these experiments on animal victims. He seems to have stuffed and posed his own family. They sit for a dinner they will never get to eat. Could this be the Hunter's own family? A family he once lost and then tried to preserve forever? Worse yet, could these people be strangers, victims of the Hunter's traps, who have now become a makeshift family to keep him company on those long winter nights? I'll leave you to ponder that one. In the attic we discover another taxidermied person, an older lady this time. Could this be the Hunter's mother? Mono and Six run into the Hunter as he skins animal pelts, but unfortunately aren't stealthy enough and alert him to their position as they open a nearby trapdoor, a chase ensuing thereafter. After a narrow escape, the two children are stalked through tall grass, luckily small enough to keep out of sight of the Hunter's flashlight. A small misstep would mean certain death. This predator is a crack shot and rarely misses with his weapon of choice, the shotgun. The Hunter tracks Six and Mono through his farmland, blasting at them every step of the way. They eventually reach a murky swamp and are forced to wade through the sludge surrounding them. One interesting note in this area is the tree here. It can be pushed over for cover, but if we look closely, we can see a heart carved into the bark. This suggests the Hunter had a romance at one time, and his lover befell a tragic end, most likely consumed by the signal tower itself. Or maybe this is the older woman we see inside the house, lovingly placed by the window with a view of the stars. Eventually Mono and Six reach a tool shed, and this is where the Hunter meets his brutal demise. Our next stop is the schoolhouse, and this eerie place of education contains 2 more of the monsters on this rundown. First up are the bullies. These at first glance may look like normal children, but they are in fact very different. Their bodies are gangly and they dress in uniform, as one might expect from pupils in a school. However, their heads seem to be made from some kind of pottery or porcelain. These mask-like faces are similar to the masks worn by the lady from Little Nightmares 1. It seems these children have been altered in some way, reborn into bodies with a doll-like head attached. This is most likely the work of the Doctor, a character known for resurrecting people in highly modified forms. We'll return to this subject in a little while. Despite their skinny appearance, these bullies can easily overpower both Six and Mono. They are surprisingly agile and strong. After kidnapping Six, Mono must take on these students with various weapons he finds throughout the schoolhouse, everything from hammers to soup ladles. However, it isn't just the bullies themselves that cause Mono trouble. These naughty children have also laid an assortment of deadly traps throughout the halls. Lockers fall and buckets swing if we put a single foot wrong, so watch out for those raised planks of wood. Environmental cues also give us insight into just how warped and cruel these bullies can be. Early on in the chapter, Mono and Six discover a chair with a toolbox beside it. It seems this hidden room was used to torture their fellow classmates. Further evidence can be seen here upon discovering the body of a student tied to a chess piece. They also have a fixation with dissection, cutting up frogs and laying out their innards for all to see. We even come across a dead chef in a meat locker. Could it be these students poisoned the school faculty as part of a sick practical joke? Judging from their behaviour, it seems likely. Mono at one point is forced to sneak past a horde of bullies, which he manages by blending in amongst them. He achieves this by wearing a severed head, which luckily didn't smash during combat. Yeah, it's pretty morbid. This close encounter allows us to observe something very interesting indeed, a group of bullies singing a familiar song. Now where have we heard that before? This link to a TV broadcast found within the original Little Nightmares game further solidifies the signal tower's presence throughout this world, and more importantly, the hypnotic and controlling effect it has over almost everyone. There is one character within the school who has the power to control these naughty children, and that is the teacher. Dressed in early 1900s era clothing, which comprises of a grey skirt and beige buttoned up shirt, her head is far too big for her body and her mouth unnaturally wide. This terrifying monster has been warped by the signal tower so badly that her neck is now able to stretch to horrifying lengths. The teacher uses this neck stretching ability to check every nook and cranny for her prey, gobbling them up whole if they are caught. No one copies homework in her class. A crack of her ruler sends a shiver down the spines of anyone who hears it, and perhaps this is why her classroom is whisper quiet. It is obvious that this teacher is a prominent and important figure throughout this nightmarish world. We see pictures of her hanging on walls, not just around the school, but throughout the Pale City, and even aboard the Moor. This is because, like the Lady and Doctor, she is one of the more powerful and influential figures inhabiting this world. She is, after all, in charge of education, although her lectures seem to centre around worshipping the signal tower and its broadcast. It's interesting we noted how many bullies enjoyed dissecting frogs, as it seems the teacher ran a biology class which centred around dissection of the anatomy. she was teaching her pupils how to effectively remove one's insides. It isn't clear exactly why, but this obsession over organ removal does tie into the grim goings-on of this world as a whole. The chefs, hunter, doctor, and potentially janitor all carrying out similarly grotesque duties. Perhaps they too were schooled by this teacher or her predecessor. The teacher stalks Mono through a number of hair-raising scenarios, such as this one where we must navigate around stacks of books to avoid her gaze. However, the most nail-biting of all comes from a sequence where the teacher is playing the piano, allowing Mono and Six to lower a walkway leading to a ventilation shaft out of the school. Everything is going relatively smoothly until the vent slams shut, causing the teacher to give chase. Next stop is the hospital. Now, while we usually think of hospitals as places of care and kindness, this particular establishment leans more toward torture and experimentation, all in the name of science, I'm sure. There are several dangers residing within the hospital wards. The first we encounter are human hands. These are no ordinary hands, however. Via the miracle of science and the doctor's horrifying experimentation, these nimble appendages are able to scuttle about in spider-like fashion, hunting anything small enough to crush in their vice-like grip. Therefore, they must be dispatched by Mono using whatever weapon comes to hand. In this sequence, Mono battles a hand with a hammer while searching for a power cell to juice up the elevator. But these hands are the least of our problems. The real threat comes from the mannequin-like figures known only as the patients. These poor souls have been modified by the Doctor, and we see evidence of this throughout our time in this wretched place. While the bodies seem to remain intact for the most part, the heads and limbs of these people have been replaced with prosthetics, including masks and mannequin parts. They only move in dimly lit areas of a hospital, and any bright light sources causes them to freeze up immediately, almost as if this bright light brings back tragic memories of their time under the blinding beam of the operating theatre lamps. We'll never know exactly why they freeze up like this, so all we can do is theorise. Check out one particularly chilling encounter with these haunting creations. The Doctor is a grotesque sight to behold. He is bloated and pale, stuffed into a dirty overcoat and black trousers. His face is wrinkled and swollen, lips pulled back over blackened gums, where large jagged teeth protrude. The Doctor is able to crawl about on the ceiling of a hospital, suggesting he has some kind of suction pads attached to his limbs, much like a spider. The Doctor seems to carry out several different duties in this world. The most notable are the skin masks he makes for those lucky enough to afford them. We see evidence of the Doctor creating masks for characters such as the chefs, guests, and janitor aboard the Moor in this workshop area here. As well as this, the Doctor enjoys experimenting on the residents of the Pale City, those unfortunate enough to ask for his help, transforming them into the clattering patients we see stumbling throughout the halls of his hospital. In this scene here, Mono takes one of the amputee victims off their life support, and we see the Doctor become very distressed and urgently try to save them. This is most likely because he cares about the failure of one of his experiments rather than the patient's quality of life. He doesn't really seem like the compassionate type. While exploring the surgery and morgue, the Doctor hunts Six and Mono, able to snatch up beds and tables they hide beneath in an instant. After a game of cat and mouse, our two explorers are chased into the incinerator room where they manage to trap the Doctor inside the furnace and burn him alive. Throughout the Pale City reside a host of hideously afflicted residents known as the Viewers. These were once simple townsfolk, but have been twisted over the years by the nefarious broadcast of the Signal Tower. The longer the viewers focused on the soothing and hypnotic TV screens in their homes, the less humanity remains within them. Their bodies degrade and erode as the life force is sucked from them over the years. Eventually, when the Signal Tower has taken their souls, the lifeless bodies of these viewers fall to the ground. But these bodies do not remain there forever. They are claimed by the Signal Tower too, leaving only the clothing of those unfortunate townspeople behind. Mono and Six have many close encounters with these wretched creatures. In fact, if caught, we see how the Signal Tower channels itself through these distorted denizens in order to sap the life force from them. This is interesting as it shows these people are no more than vessels for the tower's corrupt reach, a signal able to transcend flesh as well as screen. Mono's encounters with these viewers culminates in an exhilarating chase sequence through a local shop after he rudely disturbs their scheduled content. You may be wondering who collects up the bodies of those viewers, leaving only their clothes behind. The answer is Thin Man. This haunting stretched out entity works as a slave to the Signal Tower, forced to do its bidding and claim fresh souls to power its world-bending transmission. It is in fact due to Thin Man's supernatural abilities that the Signal Tower is able to corrupt the world in such a way to begin with. Thin Man dresses in a crumpled suit and top hat. He is first encountered after Mono opens a mysterious door at the end of a long, winding hallway, located within the very television screens themselves. Once freed from his prison within the signal tower, Finman sets out to eliminate both Six and Mono. After Six is captured, Mono is next on Finman's hit list. He is chased through the city streets and into a train yard, where a narrow escape is made. Eventually, Mono and Finman face off in the rainy city streets. Mono removes his paper bag to reveal he also has the ability to warp space and time, and he uses this immense power to emerge victorious. However, we eventually learn a shocking revelation in regard to both Mono and Finman. After Mono falls into the clutches of the signal tower, he is imprisoned and his powers used to continue corrupting the outside world. Mono grows old and takes on an eerily familiar form. This story is a time paradox. Mono has always been Finman, and he used his time-bending ability to call upon his younger self, freeing him from the tower's control. Finman then planned to wipe out all trace of both himself and Six, thus preventing the world-dooming endgame which occurs. For a detailed theory on this, check out this video. I'll leave a link at the end of this one. It isn't just the inhabitants of the Pale City that pose a danger to Mono. During the final chapter of the game, following her kidnap at the hands of Finman, Six is warped and distorted herself within the confines of the signal tower. She takes on a hostile and monstrous form here, becoming quite possibly one of the most horrifying creatures we encounter. Her hair is long and hangs over her face, giving her the styling of the ghost girls one may expect to encounter in Japanese horror movies such as The Ring. Her arms are now incredibly long and misshapen, mirroring the look of such afflictions associated with the janitor. Her legs snap in all manner of directions. It looks pretty painful to say the least. Monster 6 guards a music box, an item which brings her calm in this distorted state. She resides within a room made up from her memories, both past and future. While she at first seems calm, upon striking the music box to release her from the signal tower's control, Six shrieks out in rage and attempts to destroy Mono. Eventually, Mono manages to destroy the music box by tricking Six as he warps around her using the signal tower's time-defying portals. By doing this, she is released from its grasp and returns to her previous form. It may seem strange to refer to a building as a monster, but this particular structure is not what it seems. On the outside, the signal tower looks exactly as its name suggests, a tall towering landmark broadcasting a signal from its spire. However, as Mono helps Six transform back to her normal form, the tower angers and shows its true nature and appearance. Beneath the concrete walls, a sea of living tissue resides. Organs and flesh pulsate, giant eyeballs glare, and this disgusting mass of meat zeroes in on anything in its path and looks to consume them entirely, adding to its mass with every body it takes. As mentioned before, this is why people disappear in this world. They are drained of their life force by the signal tower, and then after all their energy has been sapped, their bodies are snatched away to add to its ever-growing form. The signal tower first shows its form to Mono after he chases Thin Man through a television screen. It isn't until the end of the game, however, that we really get a good look at this morbid creature. Six and Mono flee the tower as it comes to life and attempts to consume them. Unfortunately, as mentioned earlier, Mono is indeed taken and his powers used by the signal tower to continue the nightmarish time paradox, a paradox where Mono is Thin Man and allows the tower to control and forever change the world around them. And on that upbeat note, we come to the end of this Little Nightmares 2 video, a look at each and every monster inhabiting the game world. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, remember to leave a like, comment down below, and of course subscribe for more horror related content. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.